Hello everyone, welcome to the Extra Point podcast brought to you in association with Elite Sports Travel. I'm your host Neil Reynolds, and today we have a very special guest from the Jacksonville Jaguars, the greatest ever Jacksonville Jaguar. Am I still allowed to say that? I'm going to say that. He's the only one in the Hall of Fame, former offensive lineman Tony Boselli. Tony, welcome back to London.
It's great to be here.
We have done many things over the years from the media side, and now you're getting really into the football stuff. You're heading up all the football operations now for the Jags. What's that new role been like?
Well, I was going to say, I think we've been doing this probably since 2011.
Yeah.
So about almost 15 years now.
We're hanging in there.
We're hanging in there. They still ask us back. But this is year one of a different role for me, like you said. So, it's exciting. I've been part of the organization for 30 years.
Yeah.
And when Shad gave me the opportunity this past end of January to come into a full-time role, overseeing all football operations and coming alongside our brand new head coach at the time, Liam Coen, and then Liam and I going and getting our new GM, James Gladstone. So the three of us working together. It's really a dream job.
Yeah.
It's I couldn't ask for anything more. And I think, for a couple reasons. One, it's an organization I love. We've talked about it a long time, and it's had some ups, but too many downs, and hopefully we can change that. And then I think very fortunate to not only work somewhere I love with the city I love, but then we have a great new head coach and a new general manager. So I get to show up to work every day. And you know this, Neil, when you wake up every morning and be excited to go to work, and the people you work with, it doesn't get much better than that.
Was it something you'd thought about when you were, because you were never on the outside, but you were working in the media side, ambassador role. Was it something you looked at and thought, not as a criticism to any previous regime at all, but was it something where you previously thought, I'd quite like that if they asked?
Well, it was interesting. In my previous role, my job was almost to give an opinion and sometimes have to be critical, which I never enjoyed doing all that much because I love the place and a lot of those individuals were friends of mine. But if I'm honest, I always thought about having a bigger role.
Yeah.
Because in the job that you do now and I used to do, which is on the media side, you're watching and giving opinions.
Right.
But you're not really impacting what happens on the field or the success of the organization from a wins and losses.
Right.
I did stuff on the business side and helping Mark Lamping and his team on that side, but not really in the thick of it, in the trenches when it comes to impacting what we do on the football side. So I'd thought about it for a long time probably and had different conversations with Shad over the years, and for whatever reason, timing just didn't work out. And so when we talked and Shad came and said, hey, what do you think about doing this? Would you like to do it? This is what I'm thinking. He laid out the role, and I only had one person to talk to make sure I could do it, and that was my wife.
That's the boss.
And when she gave me the okay, I was excited and really, really honored that Shad would give me the opportunity to be a part of the organization at a different level. And so far, so good. But as I remind everybody, and Liam and James and I talk about, Shad and the three of us talk about, in fact, last night, just Shad and I were talking about it, we got to go win some games.
Right.
This is the honeymoon period.
Well,
we'll really be judged. Next time I see you in October when we come back for that game,
see if you're smiling.
Ask me how I'm doing at that point.
So when you pack the golf clubs away, which you would have to do with this job, did you feel that competitive spirit being lit again? Because I know you're a competitor.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of fun and games on stages, and you want to win no matter what you're playing.
Why play if you're not going to try to win?
Fair enough. That's why you're in the position you are. But because when you're in the media, you would, as long as you, now I know that would have hurt you when the Jags lost, because it's a little bit different for you than it would be for me. You're so close to the team, it's your team. But if you had a good show, you still had a good show. So that was a win. Now there are wins and losses. The competitive nature, is it back?
I don't think it ever left.
No.
One of the reasons the media and what I did, whether it was for the Jaguars or the national games, broadcasting those, never completely scratched the itch, as they say, is because no matter what I did, it didn't impact what was happening on the field.
Right.
It was close enough to get a little taste of it and to be a part of it. And I love the game of football. I love talking about it. Obviously, talked how much I love the Jacksonville Jaguars, but still there was a gap.
Right.
And so, win or lose, I'd be excited if we won, disappointed if we lost.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, well, on to the next, because I didn't really impact it one way or another.
Right.
So I always missed that feeling, that competitiveness of what you do leading up to the moment when the guys go play.
Yeah.
Impacts what happens. Now, obviously not at the level of our players or our coaching staff. Those guys have their hands on it day in and day out. But working with Liam, working with James as we engineer and architect the team we want and talk about who we want to be and how the standard we've set, what it means to be a Jacksonville Jaguar, to be a part of that is very fulfilling. And I know now, come Sunday, going in, I'll be excited about the opportunity.
Yeah.
But what happens on that field really matters. And it always has mattered, but now being even closer, I look forward to that feeling where when you win, man, what a great feeling. But also the pain of losing that drives you to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look forward to that as well.
We'll talk about your head coach and your general manager in a second, but as you build what you're looking to build and hopefully it's a contender for years to come, I was going to ask if you had a kind of certain thing that you believe is what it's going to take to turn it around, a certain type of player. And if you do, I don't know if that would have to be something where you'd have to sit in an office and think about it for 6 hours. I get the impression you'd be like, I know what I want this team to look like. What is that? What does it look like?
Listen, I think at the end of the day, the game of football is the greatest team sport because you need 11 guys on offense working synchronized, connected, on the same page, same with defense, same with special teams. And at the end of the day, it takes tough individuals who have enough athletic ability, who love the game of football.
Right.
And that's what we're looking for. And you got to be tough to play this game. When I say tough, that doesn't mean, hey, I can go beat up somebody.
Right.
But there's a physical element that you have to be able to do. But there's also, it's the mental side. Are you a competitor? Do you have that mental toughness to play in, play out, day in, day out? Football's a hard game. Practice isn't fun. Are you going to do what it's willing because you love the game enough and you have that competitive spirit in you to be great at what you do?
Right.
So often we look at players and say, how fast are they? How big are they? How long are they? All those things. I'm not saying those attributes aren't important.
Right.
But those aren't the focus.
No.
We're looking for football players, guys who love the game, who have a competitive spirit about them, that want to be great and have the toughness to get through it. That's who we're looking for.
I guess in football, that's because those other ones are measurable. The other bit is the secret sauce you're trying to find out. Right?
We think we can measure all those things. We're looking at all those things, and it's one of the reasons. The first thing, once Liam got hired, being part of that process, about I think the day after his press conference, Shad officially offered me the job. I took it.
Yep.
So our first task together was him building his staff, getting the right assistant coaches. He had a very specific kind of profile in his mind that he was going to go after.
Yep.
And then our first task together after that was to go hire a GM. And when we went and put together our list of prospective GMs, we had a very specific thing we were looking for. We wanted an individual who was forward-thinking, innovative, but also looked at the game the same way Liam and I did.
Right.
And Liam and I were very aligned from day one. You got to build this thing inside out. You got to control the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
Obviously, you have to have a quarterback, but you got to control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
You got to be able to run the ball. You got to stop the run. All the basic principles, I think, that goes to being a great football team. And we wanted to find somebody who thought about it the same way we did. And immediately, we had 10 candidates. James Gladstone was at the top of that list after interview process, the first stage of it. And as James, Liam, and I have worked together, the amount of collaboration has been a lot of fun, but I think that collaboration works because we communicate at a high level, but we're also fundamentally aligned how we think about the game of football.
Right.
And so as we went out and started looking for the guys that we want to bring into the Jacksonville Jaguars ecosystem, into this environment, what were we looking for? And James, I think, says it best. I'll give him the credit. You know, we're looking for intangibly rich individuals. What does that mean? Because the intangibles are the harder things to measure.
Yeah.
The tangibles are height, weight, speed,
right.
length, all that. But it's that competitiveness.
Yeah.
It's the mental makeup. It's how smart of a football player they are. It's what, and you learn these things, not just from the individual, and you can do assessments and all those different kind of tests, but it's also the people who've lived with them.
Right, yes.
Their college coaches, their teammates, the strength coaches, the equipment guys, their high school coaches. Find out what is this individual really about, and does he fit what we're trying to build? And that's what we're going after.
So with that in mind, would you, if it was would you sometimes take the guy with the great intangibles over somebody who runs
I would.
Faster or
all day long?
Yeah.
All day long. Because great teams are made up of great football players.
Right.
We are not a track and field team. We're not looking for the prettiest people.
Right.
We're looking for the guys who love the game of football, the best football players. And I think that's what great teams are made of.
Yeah.
And you look at the greatest players who ever played the game, they have a skill set, a physical skill set. And there's a baseline that you have to be able to do to play the game of football at this level. But I think the one thing you'll find, and I look at the Hall of Famers that I get to go be around every year at the induction ceremony, all of them, yes, great athletes, but every one of them are elite competitors.
Right.
They're smart.
Yeah.
They understand the game of football, and they love it. That's what they want to do, and that's what we're looking for.
And
I think if you look at our draft, you look at Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
We made the move there to go get Travis Hunter and gave up a lot of draft capital because we felt like he was a unique individual because he had the elite physical traits. On top of it, he had elite intangibles. This is one of the most competitive, smartest individuals around the game of football. He was the best in college last year, but you spend 5 minutes with him, you're like, okay, this guy's different.
Right.
He's trying to do something nobody's ever done, and he believes he can and is willing to put the work in to do it.
Well, you led me there, so I'm going to go. I had Travis a little bit further down
my list, but absolutely. We can circle back to it.
I'm going to ask you about, because he fascinates me, because I love my NFL history, as you know.
Yeah.
And Chuck Bednarik was the last two-way player in the NFL, 1960. So it's not been done for a very long time. You know what it takes to play week in, week out, down after down. Can he play both ways, do you think?
We would not have drafted him where we did if we didn't think he could.
Wow.
We're going to give him the opportunity to go do it. We have a very specific plan of how we're going to help him do it.
Yeah.
As far as the preparation for it, we've already started that process in the off season. We have a plan in training camp. But most importantly, he believes he can do it.
Yeah.
And he's a unique individual. The capacity he has, both physically and mentally, is unique. He is willing to do whatever it takes off the field to prepare, to understand both sides in a complex game, both offense and defense. But at the same time, his physical capacity, he can go all day. Heat of summer. Summer's just getting started. We're ending the off-season program. It's hot out there in Florida. Yeah. He is going full speed and never gets tired. Or at least he's not letting anyone know he's tired. And has a smile on his face, dancing in between plays, wants to go more, asking to do more.
Right. But the point you make actually is because when people talk about, it's hard to go two ways, I think certainly from the outside, we only look at the physical. But that's two lots of team meeting, position meetings. So like you said, the mental side is probably as big a part of it.
The mental side is huge. The learning of two new systems. Listen, we are very confident he can do it. The college game, they play more snaps than the NFL game.
Right.
And he was able to do it there.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be less snaps in the NFL game. Now, more physical, better athletes, all that.
Sure.
But the one thing the question is, can an individual do it mentally? Because now you're asking him to understand the defensive package, study the other offense, understand what the game plan is. At the same time, offensively, in Liam Coen's offense, I don't want to say it's more complex than anyone else's offense, but multiple formations, a lot of motion, different route combinations, 2 plays at the line of scrimmage often. He has to learn that as well. And that's not going to happen going through a regular schedule.
Right.
Because the rest of the players, they have their offensive meetings, they go through walkthroughs, they go out to practice, review it, do their lift, go home, rest. He now has to do that on offense. At the same time, find time to do that on defense as well. That takes a commitment both from him and our coaching staff.
Yes.
Because now you're asking your coaches, and we are under the guidelines of the CBA, so there's only a limited amount of time we can work with our players on a given day. So we have to be creative, we have to find time, and The only way it's going to work is if the player wants to do it.
Right.
And Travis wants to do it, and he is determined to prove that he can play both sides of the ball in the NFL.
You mentioned James Gladstone, the kind of fit he was. Tell us about Liam Coen. Obviously, a lot of his past has been about the play calling, the X's and O's, what he's done on offense. Now it becomes more than that, doesn't it? It becomes being a leader. What can we expect from Liam Coen?
You know, it's a great setup because you're exactly right. There's a lot of great offense and defensive coordinators that fail as head coaches.
Yeah.
And as we went through the process, and one of the conversations that Shad and I had was we were going through it, he was very clear what he was looking for. And as we went through the process, my one comment was, we got to make sure this is an individual that we can see standing in front of the whole organization.
Right.
Because we're asking Liam Coen, who's been a great football coach, just turn on the tape. That's his resume.
Right.
I didn't need to ask Liam many questions about offensive football because he's proven he's an elite play caller. He's been under great mentors throughout his career, starting with his dad, growing up as the son of a football coach. And so that's been proven out. We know he can call plays. Right. We know he can coach offense. Now, the question is, can he stand in front of the whole organization, the whole building, and lead our football team to a championship level? And you only can find that out by doing a lot of background and research and then sitting down with them. Yeah. And I remember in the sit-down interview we had with him, Neil, within 30 minutes, I knew he was going to be our head coach because of how he communicated, his passion, his command of the entire situation. And now I'll say also, he got me pretty early because his first, as we talked about offensive football, everyone wants to start the quarterback. He briefly touched on that, and we spent a lot of time on Trevor, but he went right to the offensive line.
Right.
He says, you got
to go there first.
And at first I'm like, is he saying this just because I'm in there? But you get to know Liam.
Yeah, that's his foundation.
He understands that if you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't play football. Yeah. And getting to know Liam, I've been very impressed. Yeah. My convictions I had during that interview that he was the right guy have been confirmed 100 times over. Watching in front of our team, watching how the guys respond, his organization, his leading of the coaching staff. Yeah. And his ability to coach every position on offense in detail. You know, he played college football as a quarterback, but I think being the son of a coach and how he came up, he can coach the quarterback position just as well as he can coach the offensive line position. The wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs. In the detail that he goes about with it is quite impressive, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And he's put together a great staff. Yeah. And you have to do that because he's going to be our play caller. Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, he can't spend all day putting the whole thing together. No. So hiring Grant Udinsky from the Minnesota Vikings to be our offensive coordinator was a key hire, and the staff underneath him. So really excited about that. And then we got Anthony Campanelli on the defensive side, a young guy. The only discouraging thing for me, Neil, is I'm the oldest guy in the dang room.
You're supposed to be now, though. You're like the boss.
I'm like, what happened?
You're supposed to be.
What happened?
Not going to give you any pads.
James just turned 35 last week. Liam is 39. I'm like, my kids are closer in age to them than I am.
You're going to get used to that, Tony. That's what it's supposed to be. But it must be an interesting dynamic because you're probably in the weeds there with the football stuff, but then there might be times where you say, okay, I'm stepping back and James and Liam are handling that. There'll be times when Liam will say, I want to coach that tight end up, but I'm going to let the tight ends coach. So there must be times, and that maybe, does it happen organically? Do you just feel that when it's time to step back and when it's time to put your kind of foot on the pedal, if you will?
I think that goes back to the vision that Shad laid out when he created the organizational structure he did. He changed it up, and he said, we're going to go in a different direction. And the way we're organized is Liam, James, and I are all report to Shad. And his directive to us is, you guys are in charge of making all big football decisions. Yep. With that said, all three of us and Shad believe that has to be head coach centric. There has to be one main voice in the building. And that needs to be the head coach. I believe that, probably influenced by who I played for when I was there. But I also look across the league and where it's worked. Yeah. And those are led by the head coach. Because he is the individual who has to speak to our players, has to drive our players, set the culture of who we are, and then hold the line. James and I's job are to support that
Yep.
and to work with him. At the same time, we've also, the three of us understand we have to have high-level communication if we're going to collaborate together.
Yep.
With that, there needs to be very defined roles of who does what. James's job as GM is player procurement, and that's the draft, free agency, and kind of overseeing the roster.
Yeah.
Liam's the head coach. His staff, players, call plays. My job as executive vice president of football operations is overseeing all the supporting services in that: video, medical, logistics, security, everything that supports our GM and our head coach. And then the three of us work together and make all the big decisions. At the end of the day, let's use Travis Hunter as a perfect example. We were going through the draft, all three of us, looking at the draft board. We were picking fifth, what we needed on a team, how we wanted to play football. And it became clear that Travis Hunter was at the top of our board.
Yeah.
And we spent weeks of thinking, how can he get to number 5? What needs to happen to get to number 5? It became clear very quickly. He wasn't getting to number 5. And so I'll never forget it. One day, it was early April. I think it was right after the owners' meetings. So it had been that first week of April, and we're sitting in the offices, and it's James, Liam, and I, and James comes in pretty early in the morning and says, hey, what do you guys think about trading up to number 2 to go get Travis Hunter? And Liam and I looked at each other, and we talked about it, had a long discussion. And at the end of the day, we said, yeah, let's go do it. Ultimately, that was James's decision.
Yeah.
And James then went and executed the trade with Andrew Berry of the Cleveland Browns.
But I bet those are the moments where your pulse starts racing again, like you're in a game, right? Those
it's
are the
a lot
bits
of
where
fun.
you come alive again.
That's because you're making big decisions.
Yeah,
you're
shaping a franchise.
Shaping the franchise. And we went through the draft, and as we went through the draft, James is a very collaborative person. Gets input, wants our opinion. What do we think? How do we want to do this?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, he has to pull the trigger.
Right.
It's his job.
Yeah.
No different on the football side. Liam is very clever. We talk about all kinds of things, of this, that, and the other. However, at the end of the day, that's Liam's job, and our job is to support him.
Right.
And the same goes with operations. So for this to work, we have to be aligned. We have to communicate at a high level. But we also, and at the same time, have to respect each of our roles and be good teammates.
Yeah.
And as we've talked about, and I told the whole staff that reports up to me, I said, listen, our job is very simple. We're the offensive line of this organization.
Yeah.
The only time people are going to recognize what we're doing is when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
When it goes right, everyone else is going to get the credit, and that is great. That's when we know we're doing our job. And as an offensive lineman, I spent my whole life doing that, very comfortable with it. And if we operate that way, and if everyone can operate with humility and trying to help other people succeed, we'll be a great organization.
Liam's another head coach for Trevor Lawrence. There's been too many, really, haven't there? And that's a trend that you guys are going to want to end. But where do you see Trevor? And we've seen so much special stuff from him, but he has had to deal with all that rotation, hasn't he? It's
tough. It's been a tough situation in a lot of ways. At the same time, it's a great situation for Trevor.
Yeah.
He's in an organization that, led by Shad, who obviously has invested in him, believes in him, and we're going to do whatever we can to support Trevor. And that's by building a line around him, building talent around him, being able to run the ball, getting the best coaches we possibly can. And at the same time, Trevor has to do what it takes to be an elite quarterback.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
Yeah.
And I think I've always been a big fan of Trevor. I've liked Trevor being in this new role and seeing it day in and day out. The way he's attacked this opportunity, putting the time in, studying the mental side of it, learning a whole new system, going through the details of how Liam wants to play and what he expects from the quarterback, from the footwork, from the timing, from the execution, the complete buy-in from Trevor, because Trevor wants to be great and understands he hasn't reached what he should be doing either.
Right.
And we're all in this together. And so been really impressed with Trevor. And he had to do all of this, not only third head coach, third system offensively, he's also coming off of a pretty significant injury.
Yep.
Thank goodness it was his left shoulder. But hey, we had to be smart with that. He had to go through the rehab process and really wasn't probably close to all the way back into the end of the offseason program. So really excited. He's working right now with guys on their own. We can't be a part of that under the CBA, but he's out there and the players are doing what they need to do. And I'll be back in the building July 19th and ready to go.
Any surprises so far on the job? Because you said it's obviously the football side, it's logistics. So is that anywhere from pulling the trigger on a trade for Travis Hunter to we like these pillows when we're on the road? How involved have you got with some of this stuff?
It's everything. To like the field, the grass, like
right.
you know, are we going to rotate the fields, the lines on the field, like our security, what hotels we're staying in, all the way up to the draft and free agency and everything else. So it covers the whole spectrum. And I think the biggest surprise is that there's a surprise every day.
Right, so
there's something that you
wouldn't have expected.
You think you know everything, you think you got everything just right, and then something comes up. It's which you should expect because we're in the people business.
Yeah.
So you got a bunch of human beings working together. Something's going to come up. This isn't AI. This isn't a lot of robots you can just program and everything's going to work out. It's a day in, day out, working with other people, building a team. It's something I'm very comfortable with because the position I played, you're counting on 5 guys to work together to communicate. Playing left tackle, I could be the best at what I do. But that, if I'm not working with the rest of the unit, we're not going to have success.
Right.
And so that's the business we're in. And so it's getting everyone aligned, everyone going in the same direction, understanding that there's going to be challenges that come up.
Yeah.
There's going to be adversity that we're going to have to overcome. That's where the mental toughness comes in. And so often I think when that happens, human nature is like, oh, here we go again, and you fall off a cliff and you don't have success. Or can you look at it and say, hey, here's an opportunity to get better. Let's attack this thing, and it's going to make us better. We'll grow from it, and we'll move on.
You alluded to it earlier. You played for a taskmaster, a great one in Tom Coughlin. You insisted you wear your helmets on the practice field, no white socks on the road.
Chin straps snapped all the time.
Yeah. Is there a Boselli rule?
I learned a lot from all the coaches I played for. Tom was one of those, and respect him in how he led and the consistency with which he led and his belief of how the game was supposed to be played, which was disciplined and tough and being physical. Those are all things that resonate with me. Yeah. At the same time, we're very different. I'm probably a believer in less rules.
Yeah.
Not probably, I am.
And that must have changed over the years as well. Players are
because I remember in college, John Robinson, who's another guy that who just passed away this year and was a huge influence in my life. And I remember the first day he came at USC, he had 3 rules. Be on time, play hard, and treat everyone with respect.
You can boil it right down to those 3, yeah.
And so that's always resonated.
Yeah.
It's funny, those same... Tom just had 100 rules that had said the same thing.
Right.
And so there's not a right or wrong.
No.
But I think one of the key things of being a good leader is you got to be yourself.
Yes.
When you try to be someone else, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so that I'm not going to try to be Tom Coughlin.
No.
Number one, it's not my role as a head coach. And at the end of the day, we set a standard. Liam and I are very similar in this. We have basically 2 rules: be on time and protect the team. Because that encompasses everything that you need to do.
It does everything, right there.
And so other teams are going to have a lot of rules, and that's fine too. It's not there's not one right thing.
Right.
But who do you want to be and be consistent? And so that as a player, because that was one of the things I learned from Tom. I didn't like all the rules. I didn't like everything he put in place. But what I did enjoy is the consistency.
Yes.
Every day I showed up, Tom was going to be the same expectations. I knew what was coming.
Yep.
And I can prepare accordingly. And as a player, all I want is consistency, and I want you to make me better. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the things that's important in the NFL from a leadership standpoint. It's important for James, Liam, and I to be on the same page, to be consistent, to model that, so that our players and our staff have the freedom to be themselves, but understand there's a standard of what it means to be a Jaguar.
Last couple, kind of relating to the UK. Obviously, the Jags are back again. Wembley Stadium in October against the Los Angeles Rams. Now there is a new stadium build coming in Jacksonville. But does the team stay committed to being active in the UK? What do you kind of feel about what's been built over the years and returning again?
Yeah, I think our commitment to the UK is self-evident.
Yep.
I think what we've done, and it started with Shad Khan, and his vision for coming over here, and has been executed in an outstanding way by Mark Lamping and his team of making sure we're organized and everything we do over here having a presence year-round. We're excited about coming this year and playing the Los Angeles Rams. We'll see what the next couple years.
Sure.
I mean, ultimately, the NFL has a big say in that as well. And so we're one of 32 teams, and that will be led by Shad and Mark, and football will act accordingly. But our players are excited to come over here. We're excited to play the Rams. More than anything, we're excited to put a product on the field that is going to go compete and try to win as many football games as we can.
And this year, the Jags are coming to London as ever, and through Elite Sports Travel, Jags fans in the UK can come to Jacksonville end of September, the game against the Houston Texans. So it's going to be money can't buy it. There'll be a stadium tour. There's going to be alumni meet and greets, and it's a rivalry game, right? The Texans.
Listen, I hope thousands of our UK fans come over for that game.
Yeah.
And pack that place, because there's no love lost for the Texans. It's going to be a competitive division game. It's an important game. Every year you start off with understanding, like, hey, let's go win the division.
Yep.
That guarantees you a home playoff game. And so those division games are double the importance.
Right.
And so we want to pack EverBank Stadium, and having a bunch of our UK fans there would be a lot of fun.
They need that sun cream though, won't they? Florida, end of September.
Put some sunscreen on, but you know what? There's plenty of beverages, and you can stay hydrated, have a good time, but bring your sunscreen, especially you Brits.
We need it.
You're not used to seeing the sun very much.
No, I do tend to cook myself in training camp. You normally see me in the shade somewhere in training camp.
I was walking around the other day with my wife, and I'm like, man, this feels like Florida out here right now.
It's been pretty good. We don't normally get it like this.
We enjoyed it. I was like, this is nice.
So the Jags Weekender is one of the trips that's going to be offered by Elite Sports Travel. Check them out on social media. It's fantastic what the guys offer. There'll be a season opening trip, which takes in Philadelphia and New York. The Neil Reynolds road trip will be in October. The Extra Point podcast trip will be in November. So there's plenty to get involved with. They also will tailor-make your trips to the US all through the regular season and the playoffs. So that's all the bits I need to say.
Yeah, good. Well done.
I especially need to say thank you, Tony, for your time. It's been a pleasure working with you on the media side for years. There's now, even if it's just a small one, there's now a fence between us.
Nah, maybe a little one.
Just a little one.
We'll still have a good time when we see you. When do you come in July?
I'm coming in July
for training camp. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a great camp. You can, we'll give you a little tour of the Miller Electric Center. You can come up to the office, and we'll have a good time.
Good, yeah. Well, we wish you all the best. There'll be a lot of people rooting for you and the Jags this year. So my thanks to Tony Boselli. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time on the Extra Point Podcast.